guys, it's Emma here. So today I'm going to be doing 5 reasons why you may not want to live on a narrowboat. So let's go! So this video is not to be negative or anything. These are just a few things that you may want to consider or think about before you think about buying a boat. So the first thing is that you're not always in control of things like moorings or busyness of the towpaths, like when sometimes, especially in summer, it can be insanely busy with people on the towpath, boats going past, so you're not always in control of that. So like with us, our dogs are quite noisy, so we don't generally moor next to people if sometimes they have like a little quiet sign on it, or that we just think we won't annoy them with our dogs. Always do try to find moorings away from people. So in winter, people generally have to run their engines or their generators, maybe even you, so you do have to take that into consideration if you don't want noise where you are moored. If you're in a marina, some marinas may ban like noise or hanging your laundry out or something like that, so you'd always have to, if you are in a marina, you may be restricted doing work on your boat or just doing anything noisy, so you will want to take that into consideration. So this doesn't bother us too much because we're continuous cruisers, so we just move. If we don't like a spot, we'll just move on, but it is still something you want to take into consideration. This is going back to the noise. Another thing you're not in control of is the like towpath and the noise and everything, so especially in summer it can get very noisy, with boats going past, with people on the towpath, with all these kind of things. You do have to take into consideration the noise, and people will peer through your windows and they'll probably be a bit nosy, but that's just something you have to deal with on a narrowboat. Another thing you can't be in control of is the weather. If you don't like moving in the rain like us, and when it's like, if it's pouring rain and you want to move, you can obviously, but we're babies and we don't like the rain. So personally, I think the weather app lies completely. It said it wasn't going to rain once and it totally did, so don't trust the weather app. Never trust the weather app. But you kind of just have to see what happens. If it's pouring rain and you don't want to move, you don't move. Or if it's blazing hot and you don't think you can move because you will melt because you're living in a tin can. The weather definitely does hold you back a little bit in some circumstances if you want to move. But also another thing about the weather holding you back is a river. If like us right now, we're waiting to go into a river because it's been pouring rain the past few weeks and the river has just been too dangerous, so the CRT has closed it. So you do have to take into consideration that the rain will probably affect rivers, so if you are going on one or if you are on one, then you will just have to make sure you can research what to do if you are on a river and it's rained and everything. So you do have to take that into consideration as well if you're about to go into a river and it's rained a lot. So you also want to make sure if you are moored up on a river that you want to be moored up the correct way, so if the water levels do go up and down, then you're safe. So things that can go wrong on a narrowboat is your engine, your batteries, your pumps on there, so you have to be constantly checking the batteries and the pumps and everything to make sure they're still working. And that's on top of having to black your boat every few years and keeping on top of maintenance. So when people move onto a boat and they come on it and everything, they'll see that maybe sometimes their batteries aren't working properly or their engine isn't doing something or something like that. Then they're suddenly faced with all these problems they have to fix. Because we bought a pretty old boat, we knew that we would have to do maintenance, and then actually a few months later, after being on the boat, we had to replace our whole gearbox. That's something we anticipated. Third thing to consider before moving onto the narrowboat, before moving onto a narrowboat, is the toilets. You can have 3 types of toilets. You can have a cassette, a compost toilet, and a pump out. So we have a compost toilet, but obviously these different types of toilets, you are definitely more close quarters to them than living in a house. You don't have the power of flushing or anything, so you are definitely pretty close to your toilet and your wee and poo, because there's some, even if you have a different toilet like a cassette, a compost or a pump out, there's some degree of having to be the smell. People just don't like that. So the fourth thing to consider before moving on to a narrowboat is insects. Obviously you'll probably still get a bit of insects if you live in a house, but double that double that and you will have a canalboat insects. You can have more, you'll have far more mosquitoes because you're near water. You'll have the dreaded idiotic horseflies that are silent and they will bite you and they hurt. So insects, you definitely are a bit more around insects here, especially with the mosquitoes. So you do have to plan, and especially in summer when you've all the windows open, mosquitoes will come in. And we had a fly, we had quite a few flies in our house, but that's doubled in the boat now because you're so small and all your windows are open because you're living in a tin can. Flies will come in, mosquitoes will come in. Another thing, if you're scared of spiders, some people don't like that about living on a narrowboat. You are definitely very close to spiders on a boat. We have spider webs probably all over our boat. We don't really notice them because we're kind of used to it now, and I was never that scared of spiders. Obviously they push the boundaries when they're in our bedroom. That takes it far too much. There are lots of things that you can do to repel insects from the boat, but that is something that you want to consider before moving on. The thing is the driving. You will, when you first move onto the boat, be pretty stressed with driving. My mum was. She hated the first few drives because it was just so stressful. But you are learning to move a boat, so it is quite stressful the first few times you drive. But you do just get used to it, and obviously there are going to be times when you're stressed. If you're going through a tunnel or anything like that, it is going to be stressful, but after those first few days you will feel better. Lots of things that can be difficult with going through low bridges or thin bridges. Going in locks can be pretty scary, especially when you're making sure you're not too close to the sill. You do just have to make sure that you know what you're doing and maybe go on a helmsman course before you go on. Going on rivers can be pretty scary, especially when you're in a small narrowboat with all these like other bigger boats on there. So rivers can be going pretty scary, especially when we're on the Thames. But rivers, if you're going to be staying on them for a while, obviously you'll get used to it. But if you're just going on them, you'll be off them really soon and back onto the canals, which is pretty easy. At least. And locks can get pretty busy and stressful, especially in summer when people are queuing up and you have to make sure that you're safe and no people rush you. And in winter the CRT closed down some canals or locks or anything for maintenance, so you do have to just check their website for just to make sure where the winter stoppages are. A little bonus one is that the space and the size of the boat. If you have a little narrow boat, definitely you'll be limited to storage and space. It's kind of just like living in a bit of a corridor sometimes, but you do get used to it, and you will find space saving solutions because there obviously is a bit of a limited storage there, and you do have to downsize quite a lot. We thought we downsized, and then when we got onto the boat we realised, okay, yeah, we need to downsize even more. So you do have to make sure you get rid of stuff, and probably won't be able to bring that much furniture with you, but it will get easier after a year or so. After we're still sorting ourselves out a little bit, but we have got used to the small space and working it. Obviously quite a few things that you need to consider before moving onto the boat. These are just a few to help you out before you consider moving onto a boat, and there's obviously loads of places that can help you decide what you want. Some things may not bother you, like the driving or something, but some things may, with the spiders and the toilets. There are lots of handy Facebook pages that you can go on and you can ask questions, which is super helpful. Like this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I do a video, and comment on my social medias, my Patreon and my Gmail, thenarrowboat@gmail.com, if you have any suggestions for me. And I also do have a canal post address. So yeah, see you later, bye.